A farm manager has been jailed for the manslaughter of 2 workers who died after being sent into a nitrogen-filled store while holding their breath. Scott Cain and Ashley Clarke suffocated in the apple container, where the oxygen level was 1%. They were trying to retrieve apples for an agricultural competition. Andrew Stocker, who was boss of the fruit farm at Tory Pier Lord Selborne's Hampshire estate, was jailed for 2.5 years. Blackmoor Estate Ltd, which pleaded guilty in January to 3 offences related to contravening health and safety regulations, was fined £75,000 and ordered to pay costs. The pack house where the men died has since closed, Winchester Crown Court heard. During the trial, it was heard Stocker encouraged the practice nicknamed scuba diving, in which workers held their breath while trying to retrieve apples. Stocker, 57, of the Links, Whitehill, Borden, Hampshire, had denied manslaughter, but admitted exposing the men to a risk of death. He was on holiday in the Maldives at the time of the men's deaths, but had left instructions. Mr. Cain, 23, and Mr. Clarke, 24, who were both assistants at the farm in Liss, got in through a small hatch in the roof of the sealed container and were found lying on crates of apples. Colleagues and paramedics attempted to revive them but were unsuccessful, and both men were declared dead at the scene. The apples the men were looking for were to be entered in the Marden Fruit Show in Kent. The prosecution said Stocker was a keen participant in the competition and took the kudos of winning very seriously. He knew the best samples could only be gathered by someone entering from the top hatch and making a selection, the court heard. Adrian Barlow, Chief Executive of Growers Group English Apples and Pears Ltd, said the incident was unusual. It would be wrong of me to suggest that nobody in the industry never takes a risk, it's human nature, but I've never ever heard, or from other people, reference to a scuba diving practice to cut corners and save time, he said. Mr. Cain was 23, engaged and had a young child, and had been working at Blackmoor Estate since 2009 as a pack house assistant. Mr. Clarke, 24, who was also engaged, had been working as an assistant checking the quality of fruit for 8 months. His parents Ian and Sharon Clarke said they recognized Mr. Stocker was not a bad man and did not mean to harm Ashley. But his negligent actions led to his death. We as a family will be serving a life sentence as we try to come to terms with the loss of a son and brother who we shall never see again. All operatives have reviewed their operating procedures, equipment, and security since the deaths. Mr. Justice Aiken had told Stocker he had been reckless by ignoring clear guidelines that no one should enter the storage units, meaning it was a disaster waiting to happen.